Aren't smartwatches amazing? A couple of weeks ago, I came out of my last class on a Friday, feeling tired and already thinking about the weekend. But as I was planning to walk home, I was getting hungry. Now, I have a few different ways I can walk home, and one of them passes by the local McDonald's. All of a sudden, like an answer to my prayers, my smartwatch went off with a notification for a meal deal, a cheeseburger for $1.50. I don't go to McDonald's that often, but I was getting a bit desperate, so I thought to reconsider which way I was going to walk home that day. Only after getting my cheeky cheeseburger, did I stop to think about what just happened. You see, my smartwatch monitors my location, and at the time I usually start walking home, McDonald's sent me a deal with precisely enough time for me to make a decision as to what I would do. I was enticed to a place I wouldn't normally visit. Maybe it was all a coincidence, but it was almost like McDonald's knew exactly how to get me where it wanted me to be. The fact is, my smartwatch and the McDonald's app on my phone had all of my information to do what it did. My location, biometrics, schedule, meal preferences, and purchasing data. With all these, the app was able to put in place something that made my decision for me. What I've just described is called surveillance capitalism, the manipulation of our behavior based on data collected by companies, which leads to a loss of privacy, autonomy, and even our democracy. Thanks to surveillance capitalism, each of us is being followed by an army of personal stalkers. Companies suddenly seem to know everything about us as they track our habits and collect our personal information at a scale that's unparalleled in human history. Not even the Stasi or Gestapo could hope to have the types of shadow profiles Facebook keeps of users who don't even use their profile. We now live in a world where pregnant women are sold baby products before they know they're pregnant, based on things like their browsing history. Jilted exes can hunt down their partners thanks to online data brokers. It's why your social media notifications hit when your FOMO, fear of missing out, is just setting in. It's why your Uber Eats reminders seem timed to not just when you eat, but what you're feeling like, how much you want to spend, how long you're willing to wait. This constant surveillance means we are now living in a world where companies stalk us online and offline, collecting our data in packages to sell to third parties. But this loss of privacy isn't even the greatest fear of surveillance capitalism. The greatest fear of surveillance capitalism is that it actually takes away our autonomy. Just like how I changed my route home to go to McDonald's, our own daily routines are not only being tracked by companies, but manipulated as corporations learn our likes, dislikes, and affiliations. It's not about giving you what you want when you want it. That's old school. It's about creating the want when they want it. Now, targeted advertisements may seem great, but the problem is companies are doing the thinking for you. This can look like people playing Pokemon Go, a game designed by Niantic Labs. Many think of Pokemon Go as just a fun, exciting, augmented reality game that takes you places to find these cute fictional characters. The app even has a route feature, which Niantic Labs call predefined paths that are made by the company. Routes that, it turned out, took players through targeted restaurants and stores filled with discounts, drowned by offers luring players to their products. This is the real game, where players were taken through a curated course to specific places they were likely to make purchases. Spotify recently released an AI DJ, what they described as a personalized AI guide that knows you and your music taste so well, it can choose what to play for you. I mean, am I the only one that finds it creepy I can now be told what I like? This isn't some ad telling me that toilet cleaner is half price at Woolworths. Music guides my feelings and emotions. And that's something powerful being wielded by an AI, because you know what? It's actually pretty good. And I'm sure none of you would figure out that infusing salsa music before dinner time could sway me towards ordering Mexican. Or that any of Spotify's exclusive artists, perhaps with a new tour coming up, will start appearing immediately after my most replayed songs to build an artificial emotional connection. We are seeing the loss of our personal autonomy through surveillance capitalism, as corporations make us unconsciously give up our decision-making. We become, quite literally, mindless consumers which they can pilot. Our decisions don't count as our own anymore because with so many subtle manipulations, corporations can predict and then take over our behavior. Our hopes, fears, interests, locations, social media posts, even our political views. All this information gives companies the power to reinforce our existing beliefs in echo chambers that can amplify our extremist views, which in turn have the ability to change our thoughts, beliefs, and perception of the world. And as soon as corporations can control people's perception of the world, they can control society in the way it functions. Because after the loss of our personal autonomy, surveillance capitalism has the ability to erode democracy. Democracy works when people are autonomous and believe in the ideas promoted about political parties and politicians. And with the creation of a tool so powerful, it can not only influence how we behave, but inherently think, believe, see, and interpret the world, there is a tremendous danger. Take, for example, the 2016 Cambridge Analytica scandal. The data firm used the personal data of 87 million people on Facebook to construct a psychological warfare tool that would help it target personalized propaganda to voters, swaying both the 2016 American presidential election and the Brexit referendum. The targeted content included messages intended to discourage people from voting. And you know what? It worked. And they were the sloppy ones who got caught. When companies can control our beliefs through the content we're exposed to, they control democratic societies. There is a reason why corporations are investing so much into advertising and their marketing strategies. It's because surveillance capitalism grants them the power to disrupt political functions and sway elections. Cambridge Analytica may have been the start, but it certainly isn't the end. So we have created the most dangerous, effective, and powerful piece of technology in human history. It's so powerful, it can change perception, influence how we think, and generate not billions, but trillions of dollars for companies through how effectively it can manipulate people's decisions and desires. Surveillance capitalism's power comes from how innocuous yet insidious its methods are. It's so good at what it does that, unlike traditional advertising, we barely realize when it's happening. So we have created a piece of technology capable of controlling us, of removing the very fabric of what it means to be human. So what do we need to do to this machine? Break it. Surveillance capitalism relies on data. So we need to make that data as hard for corporations to collect and store as possible. And that requires drastic regulation. We need laws like Europe's General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which is the toughest privacy and security law in the world. There are severe restrictions on what companies can collect, and it requires them to justify any collection and keep it for the minimum possible time, preventing profiles from being created. By immediately limiting companies' data collection, we hinder their ability to predict patterns in our behavior for them to influence. Implementing harsh bans on corporations selling data is also essential, and we should treat it the same as any other privacy breach. Because if their services can be offered without the sale of our personal information between third parties, then it must be offered without it. But laws and regulations won't be enough as long as surveillance capitalism remains hidden. We need to educate people and empower them to take action themselves. Public education is needed about what people's rights are or should be, and how they can be safeguarded online. Virtual equivalents of the Do Not Call register, such as the Do Not Track register, will increase the administrative and cost burden enough to discourage companies from even going down this path. By giving people tools to protect themselves and teaching them about the rise of this new technology, we can effectively begin to break surveillance capitalism's damaging cycle and have a greater control over our privacy, autonomy, and democracy. The digital world offers a lot to us, and we deserve to have it, but not at the price of our autonomy and democracy. Not if we need to sell our souls to surveillance capitalism.